is the Business Breakfast on Dubai Eye on 1 on the UAE's #1 talk radio station. We're talking insurance here on the Business Breakfast. We're actually talking medical insurance. Now, a new report suggesting that local health insurers, regional health insurers, could see a 10% increase in the cost of medical claims this year. We're joined now by Julio Garcia, who's the Regional Benefits Leader at Mercer Marsh. Julio, it's lovely to speak to you. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you very much for your kind invite.
Before we dig into the report into medical insurance costs, though, let me just sidetrack slightly and throw our big story of the day at you, which is to do with insurance, but to do with unemployment insurance. The news that the UAE is going to introduce an unemployment insurance scheme for workers. What could that mean for your industry?
Definitely, unemployment insurance is a very common theme in Europe, and it's very much included in all the credit life programs and all the loans. So it's a very common theme, and I'm very happy to see that it's coming to the UAE. Definitely can be an opportunity on one side for insurers, and on the other side it will protect insureds when they are facing perhaps the most difficult time and they have loans.
Could it bring more insurance companies into the country to service this scheme, or insurance talent?
Definitely, this is a specialty area. I think many of the insurers that currently are operating under license in the UAE are capable of doing it, but also it can attract some of the specific ones that I know of in Europe that are specialized in unemployment insurance.
Well, let's look at the health insurance report that you've brought to our attention.
Sure.
The fact that insurers here expect to see a 10% increase in the cost of medical claims this year, and they saw a near 10% increase last year. What does that actually tell us?
Well, definitely there is a medical trend that claims and medical insurance is increasing globally at a 9%. And in our region, that is happening at a 10%. And definitely insurers are expecting to see this in the renewal premiums. Clearly, COVID-19 and non-communicable diseases are the main drivers of this claims increase. As we can see, 60% of insurers across our region are expecting medical claims to continue the trending before or pre-COVID pandemic or pre-pandemic levels.
Is it just that the amount of claims are increasing, or is it the cost of claims, the value of each claim? Do you know what I mean? Is it proportionate that we're seeing?
What we're seeing is it's both elements. On one side is COVID. Obviously, with COVID has affected physically, mentally, and financially, and that has an impact on claiming. But also, one of the main drivers, as we can see, is the non-communicable diseases, which many of them they were delayed till post-COVID. So we're seeing also the big impact of long COVID, as we call, and deferred care.
Are insurers here covering the impacts of long COVID?
Insurers have already reacted in the Middle East. 31% of our respondents are considering, COVID as a key element in the trend. 1 out of 5 have already included COVID exclusions, and 1/3 have already are in the process of doing so, and in terms of exclusions of pre-existing conditions. So clearly there is a reaction from the insurers.
Should the insurance claims be rising at this rate, Julio? Is it in line with a rising population, the pandemic that we've just seen, or is there a suggestion in this that health providers are over-prescribing, over-testing, moving people on to specialists when they don't necessarily need to? Is there insurance gouging going on here?
We believe that there is obviously an impact of COVID, but also I think there are certain elements that we need to address in our own markets. Obviously, over-prescribing, prescription, over-utilizing, I think are all those elements that we are also seeing. That's why we suggest always employers to use cost containment, to update those cost containment programs, to have preventative and self-care options. including the benefit programs, also mental and well-being options. And definitely we support companies with data and analytics that can help shape their employee benefit programs to the right consumption and utilization.
Are we actually seeing employers willing to pay for it, though? I mean, one of the big complaints about insurance here in this region is that they don't cover preventative screenings necessarily, and that they don't cover things like, you mentioned, wellness, mental health. And then we have the insurers saying to us, well, we would cover it, it's just that the companies aren't paying for those benefits. What are we seeing now?
We definitely are seeing that employee health and benefit landscape has changed. There is a total change in how benefits are perceived and utilized, becoming health equity a priority. Organizations obviously are considering the cost implications, but now they value very much also what they bring to them. They need to protect the most important asset, which are their people. To retain today and attract their talent, they need to respond to these new needs. So definitely programs will see that the common theme, they will be including these type of benefits.
Do companies have the money to do this, though? I mean, there's a lot of talk about stagflation. There's a lot of talk about recession at the moment. People are buckling in for a bit of a bumpy ride. What could that mean for what companies are willing to pay for in health insurance?
Definitely some companies are having cash flow issues, and they're addressing, and they're very focused on cost. But on the other side, I think everybody has realized through this pandemic that the most important asset is their people, and the risk of their people is the most important risk for their business. So definitely, I think they're conscious of their need to invest, and that's where they need perhaps advisors to make sure how they make the most out of their dollar and their investment.
Are we, though? I mean, what are you seeing in terms of the type of health packages that companies are willing to pay for? Is the average spend going up, for example?
I must say that the average spend in the UAE, specifically and in the Middle East, if we compare with other places in the world, they are very high level. They are already rich benefits. And I think that's a trend. That's a very positive thing that we see in our region, and we see that to continue in the future.
And we've got 30 seconds left with you, Julio. What about medical costs themselves? We're hearing about the war for talent pushing wages up around the world, about inflation in general. What does it mean for the costs of medical treatment?
The cost of medical treatment is independent of the talent. What I believe is that companies now, in order to attract and retain talent, they need to have employee benefits. Employee benefits is a key element of differentiation, and nowadays it's a key element that new employees are looking into before joining an organization. So it's a great opportunity for companies, for HR departments, to differentiate and to incorporate employee health and benefits as a key differentiation in their value proposition as a company.
Julio Garcia is Regional Benefits Leader at Mercer Marsh, speaking to us this morning about that 10% increase that regional insurers say they expect to see in the cost of medical claims this year, and also weighing in on our big story of the morning, and that is the unemployment insurance scheme being introduced here in the UAE and what it could mean for his sector. Super quickly, we are